What's going on? My name is Ksebati. We are here at the U.S. Aquatic Sports Convention in Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm joined by a special guest, Jeff Commings.
Hi, Ferris.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been great to be here in Jacksonville.
So we are here at the U.S. Aquatic Sports Convention. In your own words, sort of summarize, what this conference is.
Well, I'm on the master side of this convention, and really it's about growing the sport. And it's about getting people to understand that swimming is a lifelong activity.
Yep.
And if that involves getting people into the water for the first time, if it involves bringing people back in who have left the sport of swimming for 20 years or more, then we'll be able to do that. And so it's just been a lot of conversations about how do we get these people back into the water. It doesn't have to be for competition. It could just be just for fitness, to make yourself feel healthier, feel better, and just be, it's a much better form of exercise, as you know. I can't run to save my life.
Sure.
I can't ride a bike to save my life.
Yeah.
I don't like balls being thrown at me. So this is the only sport I know, and I'm biased, but it's just the best sport out there.
And how many years have you been coming to convention?
This is my second one. Last year was my first,
Rookie
and
year.
I was wide-eyed. It was like a lot to digest. But after a couple weeks later, I was thinking, this is very good. This is a great way to be involved, get back to the sport, understand really kind of the nooks and crannies of what goes on, because there's a lot that goes on, more than just showing up to a swim practice or showing up to a swim meet. There's a lot that happens, and I'm learning a lot about it. It's been fun, and a lot of people I know who have been coming to this for like 20, 30 years are like, yeah, it's still kind of fun, but you just have to kind of temper your excitement because it's a long 3-4 days.
Yes, it's a long day. So this is only your second convention, but you've been super involved in the aquatic space. I mean, you're an author. You've worked with USA Swimming, Swimming World Magazine. Just sort of let's back up and talk about your swimming journeys. From growing up, college. Talk about that.
Well, I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, which is not even though we've had Olympians from St. Louis, it's not a notoriously city. The city is notorious for getting a lot of swimmers up to the elite level. And where I came from, I grew up in the city of St. Louis, where there aren't a lot of pools. But I was very fortunate that my mother said, you're going to get involved in swimming, and threw me into a swim lesson when I was 4 years old. I loved it, and got on a swim team the very next year, and I was one of those types of kids who was like, Mom, it's time to go to workout. We're going to be late. We're going to be late. And I would get there, and you couldn't get me out of the pool. And, when I was like 10 or 11 years old, I was at the Matthews Dickey Boys Club, and I would go there when I was in the summers. I would stay there all day, and I would have swim practice in the morning. And while most kids would go home, I stayed at the boys' club. I would just splash around the pool during rec swim.
You loved it.
I couldn't get out. I'd go to the library, I'd read a book, or, everybody else would be playing basketball, playing football, or doing something else. I didn't do that. I could not get myself out of the water. I loved it so much. And it was actually about that time that my body started to say, okay, I think you're going to be a pretty good swimmer. And I just was the type of swimmer who just dive in the water, just do my best. And it just got to the point where I was winning locally very, very much. And my coach would show me back then, when it was only in Swimming World Magazine, the top 16 times.
Top times list.
The national top 16 for each age group. And one year I was 12 years old, and he showed me, he said, that's your name. And I said, wow, my name's in the magazine. I didn't really know what it meant. And he said, that means that of all the swimmers who have swum this event in your age group in the country, you're one of the top 16.
It means you're really good.
It means I'm really good. And so that kind of got in my head of, I got outside of just being the best in St. Louis. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm one of the best in the country? That's really kind of cool. And so I started to set goals of continuing to be the best in the country, and set a few national age group records in my teens, and just loved the feel of that, of everybody in your age group. You've done the best in history, and
of course,
some pretty good swimmers in history. And through that, got to go to University of Texas on a full scholarship, which to this day, I know how it's very hard to get a full scholarship to a Division I school. So
University of Texas is okay at swimming.
Pretty good, pretty good. And so I every day when I was in school, I was thinking, gosh, I don't have to pay a dime to go to school. And I never forgot that, and really worked hard in school, in the pool as best I could. And unfortunately, I was there during the 4 of the years we didn't win a national title of the 11 that Eddie has won over the years. But we still were a great team. I mean, we were 2nd, 3rd, 4th every year. Yeah. And just had a blast in college. And just after that, I went to the 92 Olympic trials, did not make the Olympic team. And after my collegiate career was over, I had 1 more year left, went to the 96 Olympic trials, did not do very well. Long story short, my mind was just not in a good space. And I just wasn't really focused on doing everything I could to make the Olympic team. And so I didn't swim very well, and then I said, I guess my swimming career is over. And then I went into the working world, was working at Blockbuster Video, if anybody remembers the Blockbuster Video.
Yeah.
I was like a dream come true, free movies, and I'd just be around people talking about movies all day. And so I was doing that, and was and I worked at a store where there weren't a lot of people coming in, so I could turn on the TV and watch the Olympics. So I was watching the Olympics in Atlanta, and it was kind of like getting that fire in me again.
Yeah.
I said, I really didn't like the way I left the sport. Maybe I can go back. Went to Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center and trained there for 2 years. Didn't get any better. Still, my mind was not in a great space, even though I was training the best I've ever trained. I just wasn't in that space of being the best athlete I could be. And retired in '98. And then said, okay, that's it. No more swimming. Competitive swimming is done for me. There's what else can I do? Because I didn't know about master swimming. And so it was 1999, I was at the Denver Gay Pride event and was walking along the booths. And there was a booth for the Swimming Queers United in Denver swim team, the Squids. And I said, there's a swim team for adults? And they said, yeah, we do this all the time, swim 3 days a week, and we go to competitions. Like, competitions? And,
what is this?
It was like, they were telling me everything. It's like, yeah, and you can go to national championships.
This sounds too good to be true.
And I was like, I didn't know that existed. Like, yeah. And I was like, no. And they said, you could do everything. You could do the mile, you could do hundreds, and they even have 50s of the strokes and 100 IM. And then I was like, 100 IM. 100 IM. Where do I sign up? And I was like, yes, 100 IM. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I want to get back into competitive swimming.
Sure.
And my friends on that team and I still laugh about it to this day. They asked, do you know how to swim? And I was like, yeah, I can do pretty well. And so I went to one of their workouts, and they were like, these are all the lanes, and you go in a lane you feel is best for you, and the middle lane was the fastest, and somewhat presumptuously I got into that lane, having not really done a workout in a year. But I kind of felt, okay, I can hold my own. And so, I got back in, and more the social aspect was really what drew me back. And I just had a blast. I didn't really compete for about 6 months because I was like, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I want to do it. And then my first competition, like most master swimmers, you're like, oh my God, I'm swimming that slow?
You're like,
I remember just 3 years ago, I'd go to meet and swim like 3 seconds faster. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not swimming 8,000 yards a day.
The base isn't there.
You just have to put that all behind you. And I did, and I haven't looked back. So 1999 was a great year. I got back into swimming, and I haven't left it since for more than 2 weeks. And master swimming has just been so much fun, just for so many aspects of it. And I talked about at the 2 Olympic trials I went to, I wasn't in that great headspace, and I am now. And I have so much fun, and for many different reasons. Well, one, when I became a master swimmer, I came out, and that cleared up a lot of headspace and a lot of weight off me. I realized swimming is not a job. It shouldn't be a job. It shouldn't be like your end-all, be-all. If you swim poorly, it's not the end of the world. And so that cleared up a lot of things. And I just swam for the fun of it. And I just had so much more fun. And when you have fun, that's where the results happen.
Swim faster.
So that's been the case for me ever since. And I don't see myself leaving this sport.
That's amazing. And so let's 2 decades you've been in masters swimming. How has your training evolved? And talk to us about like what your typical workout routine looks like in the pool, out of the pool, because you're still swimming really, really fast. I mean, you're dropping down some times.
I've been really impressed with the way I've been able to maintain my times.
Yeah.
I really haven't changed much since I started.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I'm doing at most 4,000 yards in a workout.
Per workout?
It ranges between 3,000 and 4,000.
Sure.
There was a time where I was swimming 6 days a week and was doing all right with that. When I was training for the 2006 Worlds, I would throw in a couple doubles in there.
Oh, doubles.
And
in the pool? Both in the pool?
Yeah,
okay.
I would do I went on a Wednesday, I'd swim in the morning, and I'd come back late afternoon, swim again.
Yeah.
And I was realizing in my 30s, I was like, this is not good. So I didn't, no more doubles after that.
Recovery.
So it's a little bit different. I mean, I'm swimming about half of what I used to swim.
Sure.
But I think that's just the way my body needs.
Yeah.
That's what my body needs now. I always tell people, I built up a large vault.
You have a foundation.
You
have a base.
Yes.
You have a base.
And so I can make withdrawals from that if I need to. I don't have to feel like I have to churn out the yards anymore.
Yeah,
and I'm happier about that. I mean, like I told you when I was younger, you couldn't keep me out of the pool. Now it's like I'm not a workout swimmer. I'm like, workout's done. Okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. And I as much as it's great to be fit and healthy in master swimming, I'm not in that place now. I dive in to a workout. I have this goal of working on my stroke, working on trying to improve a certain race aspect, because I'm a very competitive swimmer, and it's really only in swimming where I'm ultra competitive. Well, in some other places, but that's where that vibe comes from. So when I dive in, I'm like, okay, I've got to meet in 3 months, and I know that I've got to work on the last 25 of my 100 breaststroke. So today, I'm going to be working on the last 25 of my 100 breaststroke and what that entails. And it's been, it keeps me involved and keeps me focused and not thinking about, oh my gosh, I got to turn out 3,000, 3,500 today. I just focus on the set and the goal of the set before I know it, the set's done. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't too bad. And actually, sometimes I'll stay in a little bit longer. Not all the time. But sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll do some bonus work on some sculling or some drills because I feel pretty good today. So it's been great to kind of cut my training in half and still perform well. I'll right now my 100-yard breaststroke is about 55 or so.
I went in the database. I was like, he's holding 55s consistently.
I've been
55.
As long as I can hold under 56, I'm always going to be happy.
25 in the 50.
Yeah.
What's your 100 IM at these days?
51.
51. And these are yards times for the fans. And long course, how are we looking?
Long course, I haven't done a long course 100 breast in a couple years, but I'm about 104 high in there. Backstroke, my goal is to stay under a minute as long as I can.
Oh, that's fast,
and 200 IM is kind of sometimes it's a really fun event in long course, sometimes it's not so fun.
Long course is hard.
But I'm in my 100 breaststrokes, I'm about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds slower than I was in my peak. So
at the University of Texas.
So I'm really happy about that.
That's very impressive.
Because I just kept
on half the training.
Yeah, on half the training. But I think a lot of it, Ferris, is that it's a mental thing. I mean, I'm just mentally just cleared of a lot of things, and I can just go out there and have fun. When I was in college, I was swimming great. I was having fun. It was a great team environment. But a lot of it felt like a job. I felt because I was on this full scholarship, I had a lot of responsibility to the team to perform well, because they're giving me this opportunity of a free scholarship. And I was like, oh my gosh, after a while, it was like so much pressure because I was the top breaststroker on the team. And as much as I liked it, sometimes it was just a little too much.
A lot of pressure.
And also, which a lot of people are experiencing now, probably actually it's a lot easier now, is the experience of, I wasn't out to my teammates in college. And there was a lot that I was putting on myself about that. And will my teammates accept me if I come out to them? Will I be able to, will my coaches accept me? If they don't, what am I going to do? Am I going to stay here? Am I going to quit swimming? Am I going to go to another school? What's going to happen? And so I said, they like me now. I'm not going to ruin that. And so, I mentioned this in my book of, we'd have team meetings, and sometimes I'd be like, okay, today's the day. I'm just going to stand up there and say, guys, look, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, fine, we'll part ways. But I just didn't want to upset the apple cart. And so I just like, okay, we'll just do it. I won't do it. And, you know, just the weight on my shoulders got heavier and heavier and heavier. And I just, it's not that I dreaded coming to the pool with my teammates, but it was just like, you know, I didn't like switching pronouns. I didn't like not telling my friends where I was going. You know, I'd have gay friends and I wouldn't introduce them to teammates, people I was living with. So I felt like I was sneaking around or sneaking out doing things with my other friends and having to say, oh, I just went out to a movie.
When they're all your friends.
Yeah. And so, you know, I felt horrible about that. And having to remove that just enabled me to focus on my swimming and not think what other people were thinking about me.
Yeah.
And so now with that removed and being extremely happy in my life, it shows in the pool.
Yeah.
And I think that's happening with a lot of people who are in college or younger people of coming out. You know, they're finding that acceptance, which is wonderful now.
Yeah.
And they're able to perform, and I could see the smiles on deck from a lot of these people when I've talked to them, and they said, yeah, I get in the pool now, I just feel like I'm 20 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
So I don't look back and say, what if? But, you know, I always look back, it's because a lot of my teammates have said, well, some of them say, yeah, we knew, we were just waiting for you to say something. And some were like, you know, well, if I had known, I would have said, you know, it's not a big deal. I mean, you know, we would have helped you in any way. So, yeah, I look back, it would have been great, but, you know, hindsight's 20/20. I'm happy to have this life now.
Yeah.
And what happened to me in college shapes the way I am now of trying to support those LGBT youth who are trying to find that comfort in that safe space.
Yeah.
And I've actually had the good fortune to counsel a few of them of how to come out to their family, their friends, their teammates. And that's made me feel very good. And it's and I've, you know, keep counseling them on, you know, you could be a beacon to others.
Yeah.
And you know, it just snowballs. It just keeps going because
and you wrote a book. So let's
Yes.
talk. You mentioned the book. So talk about the book.
So people said, why did you write a book when you were only 37 years old? And I'm like, well, I had a lot to say, and it wasn't my idea really. A friend of mine in about 2000 said, you know, I was telling him about my life, and he said, my gosh, this is so juicy, you should write a book. And I said, well, at the time, I was like, well, I'm only 26. It's, you know, who writes an autobiography at 26? That's like 10 pages. And so I just kind of put it aside. And then another friend of mine who's one of my mentors in journalism said, you know, if nothing, it's a good writing exercise.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can kind of feel like you can, you know, because when I was in print journalism, it's all about painting a picture and setting the scene. And when you're writing about your own life, you know the scene, so you can really go into good detail. So I said, okay, it's a good writing exercise. And I set out, wrote a few chapters here and there. And then I said, you know, yeah, that's good, but who wants to read that? And so I just said no. And it was about 2007, the guy who's now my husband said, you should write this book. You need to write, because he read some of the chapters, and he said, absolutely write this book. You need to write it. You need to write it.
Publish.
And so I said, okay, I'll do it. You know, I don't know who really thinks my story is going to be great, but I'll write it. And you know, every free time I got, I sat down and wrote stuff. And I was impressed with how much I felt I had to tell. The hardest part was I wanted to be honest and not use like, you know, pseudonyms for people that were going to be involved in the story. So I had to reach out to them and tell them, you know, I wanted them to be a part of this book and I would like to use your name. Are you comfortable? Because in some aspects, it's not that it was shedding them in a bad light, but just that, you know, they didn't feel uncomfortable about being in my life story. And all of them said yes, absolutely. And so that made me feel better. And so that was actually telling the truth, and that, you know, I didn't feel like I had to hide something.
Yeah.
And so
when did it publish?
It published in May of 2010, and I self-published it through a company that's owned by Amazon.
Okay.
And, you know, back in the day, all it was
it's called Odd Man Out.
Odd Man Out: True Stories of a Gay Black Swimmer. And all I did is I just put a post out on Facebook, said, hey guys,
I wrote a book.
I wrote a book. If you want to buy it, here's the link.
I wrote a book.
And
we'll link it in
Yeah.
the description.
And the next day, I went on to the website where I could see how many sales, and it was a lot of sales. It was
Yeah.
like 100, I think, in a day.
That's amazing.
And I was like, oh my God, people want to buy my book.
That's crazy. That's
And
awesome.
you know, it's been 8 years, and I still get royalty checks, which is
That's
my
awesome.
indication people are buying the book, and I don't know where it comes from. It's not
People
like
are
I'm
finding
out there.
it and
yeah,
yeah.
and you know, I think when you do a Google search on me, you probably find it. And you know, it's humbling to me because, like I said, I still think, you know, is my life really worth a book? And then
It is. And the proof is in the pudding.
proof is there, and you know, now people have read the book and they're like, "When's the sequel?" So I'm like, "Well, give me a few more years. I got to."
That's the advantage of publishing so early. Now you can have
I
editions.
can have volumes. So I have thought about volume 2. It may come out maybe for my 50th birthday.
Okay. Okay.
I'm kind of waiting for a few life experiences to happen.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought there may be some things in my life that may be happening by the time I'm 50 that would be really good for the book. So
Yeah. Okay.
people out there, just
Stay tuned.
Just stay tuned. It may
Stay
happen when I'm
tuned.
50. It may not be until.
Okay. Well, you heard it
55 or
here.
so.
Talk about the impact of now having it out published, and you mentioned mentoring other people.
So because it was published, mostly adults have come up to me and said, you know, we'd like you to come to our swim team and talk, or we'd like you to do a book signing. And I'm like, that's great. I mean, that's really what it's all about. Because I thought if only one person buys this and I've affected that one person, that's all. You know, I'm not in it for the money. I'm just in it for, you know, my story can help somebody else. And so I've gone to talk at swim teams. And like I said, people have just independently come up to me at swim meets or wherever and have said, you know, I read your book. And I thought they were going to say, you know, my brother's gay, and I'm really worried about, you know, what's going to happen to him. But some of them said, you know, I'm thinking about coming out, and you know, I'm really nervous about what my family's going to do, or what if my teammates are going to do anything. And I said, you know, you have to, you know, when it's time. And it's not up to, you don't have to feel compelled to do it because you feel somebody's trying to force you out of the closet. You have to do it when you are ready. And that's the hard part about what a lot of people are feeling, is they feel like somebody's going to out me, so I might as well just do it now. But if you're not ready, then you're sitting around thinking, oh my God, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
And in a way, me coming out when I was 25 was a good thing, because I guess I was an adult. I knew how to experience. I knew I had life experiences. Yeah. I was ready if my family was not going to be on board with this, that I was fully independent, and I could, you know, as hard as it would have been to just live my life away from my family, or if my friends ostracize me, okay, I'll get new friends. But I've been really excited to hear that a lot of people, and maybe it's just because it's the 21st century, attitudes have changed, that their teammates are saying, gosh, we already knew, or we didn't know that, but that doesn't change anything. And that their parents and their siblings and everybody else have been so supportive. And that has really changed, because I think when I was 17, the social environment behind coming out was so stigmatized. You know, yeah, you'd get a few people that would be okay with it, but a few people are like, you know, a couple people in your high school. You know, you'd come home and your little brother is, you know, going to make fun of you, and that's not a good environment to be in. And I think a lot of people have really felt that that has changed, and that has helped them. But again, you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready yourself, and for whatever it is, whether it's the positive or the negative, you've got to be ready, because if you're not ready for it, it can really take you down in a really quick way. I mean, you can really that's why we've seen all the reports about suicide rate among LGBT has been really high, because, you know, yeah, they come out, but they have been, you know, ostracized by their family. They didn't prepare for that. So where are they going to live? You know, how much? Where's the money coming from? Sure. So you gotta, at least if you know that's going to happen, have a plan B. If you feel like, you know, if you know your swim team doesn't like you, you have to go to another university. You know, you didn't plan for that, so where are you going to go? And so, you know, a lot of things can play on your mind, and you feel there's no way out. But I think a lot of people are finding that there's a lot of support, and if it's just one person, that could really make a big difference. And just a kind word from a friend can go a long way.
Yeah. So you mentioned, in swim teams now and seeing things evolve. So let's change gears a little bit. Talk about USA Swimming and your involvement with USA Swimming today and where you see the sport overall moving.
Well, I am extremely excited where the sport is going.
Yeah.
Well, just to kind of put this in context, the thing that's not weighing on my mind is just about a couple weeks ago, I don't know, you know who Abram Devine is. He came out publicly as a gay swimmer. I will say that was a surprise to me, and I've seen Abram on the deck for the past 3-4 years. And it's not to say there's a tell or that, most people will say, oh, your gaydar's broken. I'm like, well, that's just Abram just didn't register with me. So it kind of came as a shock, but at the same time, I'm like, that's awesome. Abram's on the national team. He is on the international team and just swam at Pan Pacs. So right now, he is now that person who is looking, or other LGBT youth are looking at it. It's like, it's possible. It's possible for you to do that, not just go to the international team, go to a great university and be an NCAA champion, which he is right now.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of, wringing my hands, hoping that, he makes the Olympic team, because we have never had, you may be shocked to hear this, Travis, we have never had an openly gay American swimming Olympian.
So that could
so Abram could be the first, and it's just it's a great history maker, and people will probably say, what's the big deal? Does it make any difference? Simone Manuel won the gold medal in 100 freestyle. Made a huge difference.
Yes, it does make a difference.
It does make a difference, because a lot of people will look at that and say, well, if Simone can do it, I can do it.
Inspires the next generation.
It inspires the next generation. It may not happen quickly, but it will happen.
Happens.
In little drips, but it happens. And those drips become puddles, and those puddles become waves.
Yeah.
And with Abram, or whomever it is, a 12-year-old kid who is worried about coming out as gay and is on a swim team thinking, I can't be a gay swimmer, will see Abram and say, he made the Olympic team, or whomever made the Olympic team, he's gay, he did great.
Yeah.
That can happen. I want to be the next.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really proud of Abram for being that open about it. And I guess before this, for like a year, he had already come out to his team and was very accepting. And I know there are a lot of openly gay swimmers out there, but he's now I don't want to say the highest ranking, but the most
he's in the spotlight.
visible out there right now. And that's been really good. And to have a diversity and inclusion committee and a group of people who are really active
working on
and trying to include people of all backgrounds. And when you hear diversity and inclusion, the first thing you think is the racial background.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
more than that.
It's more than that. It's the racial background. It's getting the gender equality, and it's getting the sexual orientation equality with the LGBT, and that's been a big support for me. One other thing is Mitch Dalton, who is the national junior team director. He's openly gay. We have an openly gay executive in USA Swimming, and that's a big deal, because it's now that is also the coaches and other administrators, if they are fearing that I can't be an openly gay coach, administrator, whatever, because parents will worry about me hanging around their kids. It's possible.
Sure.
USA Swimming's board of directors would not have hired Mitch as an openly gay national junior team director if they didn't think that he wouldn't be able to handle the task of just doing his job.
Yeah.
And that makes me, it just warms my heart to see that, and I just know the future is just going to get better and better and better.
Yeah.
And I know that, this day and age, most teenagers are just like, yeah, if there's a gay swimmer on my team, fine. But when I was growing up, you think, okay, so if I came out as gay, is everybody going to not want to shower with me? I mean, we finish workout, we go to the showers. Are they going to be worried about that? Are they going to be worried, am I going to check them out? Don't worry about that. I mean, just we're all teammates, and it's not. And
so you've had the opportunity to travel to a lot of these Pro Series meets now, and if anything, you're one of the most recognized characters in the sport of swimming. You and Rowdy Gaines, because you've had the opportunity to interview so many different athletes. So what's it been like to be able to have all these interviews and communicate with all these athletes?
I'm still starstruck.
Yeah.
I interviewed Nathan Adrian. I'm like, oh my God, it's Nathan Adrian. I mean, I'm still that way because I'm a swimming fan. I really am. And I see these guys. I've interviewed Nathan ever since he was on the Olympic team in 2008.
Yeah.
So Nathan and I go way back 10 years. Yeah. But I'm still like, oh my God, it's Nathan Adrian.
Right.
Or Katie Ledecky, any of these people. I mean, I'm not close friends with a lot of them, but because I've seen them, interviewed with them, and just talked with them privately over the years, I mean, it's been humbling. And people ask me, it's like, oh my God, what is it like? And I'm like, I'm a swimming fan. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So I do the Deck Pass live shows with the Pro Swim Series and with nationals and some of the international meets. Right. And so get to see these people all year round and it's just so much fun, and I love doing that because anybody can look at a result and say, I like Katie Ledecky because she's the best swimmer in the world. Yeah. But really, who is Katie Ledecky? I mean, you want to know more about these people. So and I want to know. As a swimming fan, I want to know, why hasn't Katie Ledecky gotten a driver's license until now? Or why supporting the Washington Capitals and Blake Pironi, he's and Cody Miller, all these guys. I just want to know more about them because it humanizes them, but I guess for me it's just a personal thing. I just want to know more about them. I could talk forever about their swimming performance, and they could talk forever about their swimming performance. But in a way that gets boring if you talk to them 4 times a year. Yeah. So I could say, Nathan, you talk about this cat that you love so much.
Oh, Nathan Adrian's cat's getting a shout out.
And it just I got to tell you, when we did that interview with him for Pan Pacs, and he talked about that.
The cat.
I just said, I was saying, I would have never thought Nathan is a cat person.
I would have
thought him had this big German Shepherd.
His cat,
running up and down.
He's got a wife and he's got a cat.
Yeah,
they're both.
And it's just, and that's the kind of thing that you're like, wow, I would have never thought that about Nathan, and it makes me look at Nathan in a different way even after all these years. So, I absolutely love it. I can't, I can't say how it's humbling, and to be able to do this, and I love the experience of doing it every time, and just to keep my foot in the sport in that way is real exciting. And every time they call me to do one of these things, the beauty of Iona Swim School, so the beauty of being my own boss is, I could think for a half second and say yes. Yeah. And I love
make it happen.
Just make it happen. And I love doing it. And I'm really thankful to USA Swimming to be able to do that. For me to have the opportunity, and for them to have thought about a show of that type, because that's what people like. They like to know what's going on. Besides, Katie Ledecky breaking a world record in Indianapolis. What was the midterms like?
Sure. Yeah. Is there, given that perspective, and you look at the record board, and these are all great athletes, is there something that unites all of these individuals that allows them to be such good people and also perform in the pool? Like from your, you have the behind the scenes talking to them.
They just love the sport.
They love the sport.
They will do anything to make this sport bigger. They don't see it as a job, which goes back to me in my 20s. I just kept thinking of it as a job. They love coming to the pool every day and working and being the best, and the results show that. And most of them don't see it as, oh my gosh, I've got to go to 6 Pro Swim Series meets because I have to make money, because my sponsors tell me I have to, because I'd rather be in bed. They love racing. They love being around the fans because they know without the fans it would be a very boring sport. Yeah. And I don't see that changing. I actually see it growing because I think it also comes from the leadership of USA Swimming that they're kind of guiding them to say, if you guys want this sport to grow, you have to be more personable. Yeah. And I think that's changing. The personalities in this sport are just fantastic. Yeah. I mean,
lively.
20 years ago, we had Matt Biondi and Tom Jager, Mel Stewart, and Dara Torres, to name a few. Yeah. But for the most part, they were all just like, we were just there to swim and we'll go home. And of course, it wasn't in the age of social media, but still,
that's a whole
you still had the personalities out there. And everybody loved the Matt Biondi Tom Jager rivalry because they built it up. Yeah. the community built it up and the media built it up. And so they created the personalities, and they're long-lasting personalities. Everybody thinks of Matt Biondi and Tom Jager, kind of think of them as two people of the same cloth, because without one, the other wouldn't be as good as the other. So, you know, the personalities that I get to talk to and hang out with on a regular basis, they're just amazing.
Yeah, awesome. And final question, let's bring it back full circle. Let's talk about masters swimming. What advice do you have for the adult fitness swimmer who is looking to get involved, but they just need that next step, right? So but what advice do you have for someone getting involved for the first time with swimming?
Well, I have a few swimmers like that.
Yeah.
And I just tell them to take baby steps. You don't have to go from doing your first workout one week to signing up for the 1,500 a month later. Just take it whenever you're ready. The sport is there. The sport's not going away.
Yep.
And as a coach, I would love to see all of my athletes be at a swim meet, swimming their best. If it's the 50 free, if it's the 500, it's the 400 IM, I'd love to see them there. But if they're not ready, I'm not going to push them in that direction just yet.
Yeah.
I'll just say it's there.
Yeah.
Think about it. But the coaches need to understand that they may just not be ready at that point. It may be a year, it may be 2 years.
Sure.
You just got to be patient. Handle the swimmer at the level they are now, because you cannot just force somebody to do something, especially as an adult, that they don't want to do. If they're a kid, you could say, okay, you just started, I see some potential, you're going to do this meet next month, and they have to say yes.
Yeah.
But as an adult, they could say, no, I'm not going to do it. This coach is too harsh. I'm leaving this club. I don't see any other clubs around that are close to my house, so I'm just not going to swim in Masters. And so you've lost that swimmer. So that's been the lesson I've learned, because as coming from the competitive side of it, I'm like, everybody should compete. It's a thrill. It's a rush. But some aren't ready. Some will never be ready. And so you have to they walk into the pool, and all they want is just a good workout. They're not thinking about,
that's all you need.
I'm getting ready for a triathlon, or I've got nationals in 6 months. So it's hard to think of 4 different goal sets that we've got going on, and you know, this person can barely do a 50 in under 2 minutes, and this guy under here can go a 50 in 26 seconds. But you know, it's a team, so you got to everybody's got to do the same thing, but they've all got different goals, and you just got to understand that this person, he got a good workout, but you got to talk to him in a different way than people in the faster lane. And that's my challenge. I love the challenge. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it every day, but I love having the swimmers I have, because if it were all the same swimmer every day, it would get boring. And I'm sure a lot of coaches out there say the same thing. If they had the same group of swimmers every single day, it would be boring, because it's the same workout every day.
Yeah. Well, I think that's outstanding advice on multiple fronts. And Jeff, thanks so much for taking your time here at convention. This is Jeff Commings out of Arizona, and keep an eye out for volume 2 of his book, which we'll be anxiously awaiting.
Soon.
Awesome. All right, signing off here in Jacksonville, Florida. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.